when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages and start your fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers. Hope you're dancing in your seats. We're coming at you a little later than we normally would. Some scheduling issues today, so we're recording at night. You probably already noticed the episode didn't go up as it normally would, but we're here. We're ready to rock. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm with Lana Bachynski. Hi, Lana.
Hello, here for the episode of the night. DLC.
It is Book Club After Dark.
Talking about the same gritty gruesomeness, but now we're a little bit more tired.
Actually, After Dark works for these chapters. We're doing chapters 7 and 8. And I have noticed, Lana, Toll the Hounds, this 8th novel of the Malazan Books of the Fallen, the Tales of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. This 8th novel is a little randier than the previous novels. Have you noticed that?
I've absolutely noticed that.
Yeah.
Everybody getting down, getting something.
It feels like After Dark might be the best time to talk about this novel.
After Dark, About Dark, Mother Dark, who knows?
That's right. We got lots to get into chapter 7 and 8. In fact, because it's late, we want to get this episode out as quickly as possible. We're not even going to do a non-spoiler topic. We're just going to hop right in and start the show with spoilers, starting right now for Toll the Hounds, chapters 7 and 8. Lot to get to. We start with little Harlo.
Little Harlo.
Little Harlo is just like a little heartbreak boy. My little heart breaks every time we learn more about Harlo. Oh my goodness. Harlo, who all he wants to do, like any good boy, is collect dung for mom,
Just try to fill a sack like you do.
Get a sack of dung. And mom would be so proud with all this choice dung that he's collected. Mom is going to give him a pat on the head, a real good job. I mean, it's not his real mom, of course.
Mom, not his mom. Gonna give you a little smooch. Thanks, buddy.
That's all he wants is a little attaboy. Attaboy from the aunts and the uncles and all the surrogate family that he's got here just for collecting all the sweet, sweet dung.
Keep that fire lit and stinky.
Yeah. It's not easy collecting dung. He's throwing rocks at dogs to try to get them not to attack him. He's a savvy little guy, not savvy enough to get away from Snell, though. Who is also throwing rocks at dogs, but for fun.
The mirroring, he was throwing rocks at people.
The lepers. Yeah.
Harlo throwing rocks at dogs just to be like, get out of here, you crazy guys. Don't attack me today. And Snell's like, what's up, other people?
Yeah.
With open sores on your body.
What's up, less fortunate?
Here's one more, baby.
Oh, Snell, so gross. And so he's basically stalking Harlo. And we'll check it back in with that later. And it's just going to get sadder from here. Well, Harlo breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but the next scene, I love the turn of events with Mappo, because as we left last week, we were both like, "This is an amazing, crazy plan. We're gonna soak him in blood, toss him through the gates of burn, to literally protect him from molten lava, so we can get back to Icarium as quickly as possible, or get to Letheris as quickly as possible." It didn't work.
I just picture them dipping him like an egg, and it's just not sticking. Sticky blood, not sticky enough.
It's not sticky enough. Not when you got web skin.
When you got the web magic that's like holding your body together.
Yeah.
Everybody knows oil and water, blood and spidey webs. They don't mix.
Man.
They don't mix.
It's like Spider-Man and Carnage.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've said this before, but this is one of my favorite things that Erikson does is that he will establish like the coolest thing I've ever heard ever. And then he'll be like, nah, that didn't work though. That was, I'm like, but it's like the coolest thing ever. And he's like, no, not cool enough.
We've
Not
definitely
cool
done
enough.
this before. This world, this is like a known thing, known ritual. Somebody's done it. Wouldn't you like to see that?
Yeah.
Not today.
Nope. Sorry. Got to figure out some other way. And I love how this goes where the priest that, is like, he's been dipping him in blood at least 3 times. It's like, this is all right. One more time. He's like, it's like, okay. I got to admit, it's not going to work. It's the Ardotha, the spider goddess, is being selfish and wants you for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And Mappo's like, well, should I like go find Mogora and like ask her to do? He's like, not a good idea. Don't let the spider goddess know that we don't like it.
We don't want to talk about the ritual. We're going to, consider it like a skin treatment.
Yeah.
It's like, this is all the rage actually in Lether, which by the way, have you considered shoes?
Yeah.
You considered walking?
Yeah. And he's like, all right, I got another idea. How much money you got?
Yeah.
Because there is, there's always the rich person version. You can't get there from here unless you got that money, get that sick money.
Yeah.
And I love how that ends.
I definitely walked by the caravan, so I know they're here.
That's right. Well, we find out that he knows they're there because they smashed his like brother's that scene where they arrived and they smashed that thing. He was like, yeah, that's my brother's place. Yeah, I know there's a wagon here. I know it arrived because it ruined my family, basically.
Yeah. We'll be in debt for a long time, but you know what? Sure. Take the money.
But you should probably, good for you, I guess. So then we hop over to the aforementioned TTG shareholders, of which Sweetest Sufferance is one, and Faint and Master Quell and Glano Tarp. I have now decided upon my favorite of the new shareholders, and it is Glano Tarp. One of my favorite things, Lana, I don't think I've mentioned this to you ever, but I love a malapropism. I adore a malapropism. I love it when somebody is attempting to use a word that is beyond them and just gets it wrong. And this is
That's
Glano
why
Tarp.
you enjoy this podcast with me.
Yes, because I do it frequently.
Oh my
God. But I it's so funny to me, the Glano Tarp, where he's using the wrong word, but it almost works. It's so great. Erikson just does it to such great effect. But we have these folks that are sort of in it. Master Quell has a kidney stone.
Which, what a ridiculous thing. Everybody's like waking up from some kind of like drunken stupor of drinking the stress away from their last, all of our other shareholders just died adventure.
Right.
Like barely 24 hours, 12 hours into recovery from that. And then one guy being like, I got to pee so bad. And then just having a kidney stone, like what a thing to just work into this moment. It's like,
so
it was
funny.
because of the diet on the road. Did the Warrens infect him with a kidney stone?
Hey, you got to stay hydrated.
You gotta
when you're moving through a hellish, portal of magical death. Stay hydrated. That's what we learned. And I like how it's like
set a timer.
Yeah, I like how he describes it as a papaya.
I know.
It's so funny. Such a funny word to use, papaya. But also, I mean, this whole scene is just delightful. It's, I guess, a couple of scenes, but they're one of them is sleeping and a rat is like moving up, and they're like taking bets on whether the rat's going to go in the mouth, and if it does go in the mouth, what's going to happen next? So great.
Oh,
are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
I don't know what.
No, it's okay. You're back.
Okay, great.
I think we're good. Anyway, I love that stuff with the rat going in the mouth, and it's so good.
And then like even like the result, I'm like, okay, the over the topness of like, oh, is the rat gonna go in his mouth and like he eats it or whatever? There's something about that is like so over the top, kind of gruesome that you're like, whatever. But the idea that the rat just comes and drinks the spit out of the corner of his mouth is somehow
Yeah.
more disgusting to me.
Yeah, well, the way he describes it as the tongue like going blah 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 blah, and just getting the spit. It's so specific about the tongue, like blah, blah, blah.
I also just love that like they're chatting, and then you can just picture the moment of them being like, the rat. Watch it. They're like
Watch
taking
it.
bets
Here goes.
Yeah. Oh.
It's such a frat boy, like, oh, it's gonna go in his mouth, like it's gonna. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet you it does. It's so great. And then so in this, and then this young boy shows up. It's like, hey, guys, there's somebody wants to be delivered. We need you to escort someone somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know who. But are you guys like available? And he's like, yeah, I guess we're available. Go get them.
They're like, we're available to talk, but we're not like ready to go. And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, maybe, yeah, I'll go get him.
And we see who that is, and it's Mappo. Hence the "Are you rich?" Because the Trigal Trade Guild, not cheap, not a cheap means of travel. And so this priest brings Mappo into the bar, and it's Mappo's like, I recognize this thing back from Tremor lore. I remember that wagon.
Yeah.
And it's another wonderful little flourish where, they're like, this hasn't happened yet. We haven't got to the Gruntle part. Gruntle part is very great.
It's very
we
great.
have not gotten to that yet. But yeah, so they, Mappo walks in and he's just like, I need some breakfast. And Master Quell recognizes Mappo and is like, hey, where's Akarium? Did you lose Akarium? He's like, oh, you know all about this. I'm not like forgetting Quell as somebody we've seen before, right?
See, I don't know. I had that same kind of reaction. And I mean, if he recognized the wagons from Tremor lore, the only thing I could think of was that's the guy who was like in the wagon.
Yeah. It's certainly possible that I didn't clock that name exactly, but
it's also possible that I think that TTG, they get around. They in the Warrens, they know. And so they're like, oh, you're the guy and you didn't do your job?
Totes.
That seems like a bummer for all of the people in the world.
Yeah. And then we find out about these 3 new shareholders that are replacing some of the people that didn't make it through. And there's 2 brothers, Jula Bowl and Ambi Bowl, who are in love with the same woman, Precious Thimble.
Precious Thimble. Just a precious thimble.
Just a perfect name.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, sort of playing them off of each other and
she's
milking
a witch,
it for all it's worth.
So I feel like playing them off each other, I wouldn't doubt if there's some sort of ensorcelled nature there.
Yeah. Yeah. Super good though. And then we pop over to check in on Gorlis Viticus, who is conspiring with Hannet Orr and Chardon Lim, the sort of council members that
this is
are
Chalice's crappy husband, right?
Chalice's crappy husband and crappy husband's friends, crappy friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about this new council member that maybe they can bring in and they'll use and they'll lead him on and get him into the position where he's offering more and more and more to become the council member. And then they can decide later. So I don't know who they're talking about exactly, but I think we're going to find out.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where I briefly thought that Gorlo, what's his name? Chalice's
Gorlis.
guy? Gorlis.
Yeah.
Was the guy. They're like, are you sure that you're ready to be like in this kind of position? And I thought that they were trying to like maybe vie for like sabotaging that council member so that they could put their own guy in his place, which I thought was Gorlis. And then later,
you're right.
later it sort of alludes to in like somewhere it says like, and Gorlis is taking on those contracts. Like Gorlis can do blah, 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 blah. So it seemed like that was some of their machinations being sort of seen from a third party.
Interesting. You may very well be right. My reading was that the 3 of them are already in, and they're like, who are we going to let in this super special club? Well, they have to really wow us. And then they can give us gifts and gifts and gifts and promises and get to the point where they're completely like,
just too in over their heads.
Yes.
With us.
And also they've humiliated themselves to the point where we can just be like, no, not anymore. And now they have nothing left, they've just given everything. Anyway. So interesting developments there. And then immediately after that, we were kind of checking in on Chalice, who's just hates her husband, hates all of this, and just wants to like walk through the city and feel alive again. And she's thinking about this cool wedding gift she got that's like a little piece of a moon in a dome. It's so rad. That always shines. It
shines as though the sun were shining right upon it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty cool. And she thinks about how, she could tell her dad about all this nonsense that they're up to, but even her dad won't support her. He'll think, oh, that's just what council members do. There's just
boys will be boys.
Yeah. And there's, there's this moment where they're talking about, or she's thinking about the fact that she doesn't have any children, and she'll be the one accused of being barren. And there's a line there. I don't know if you caught it. I caught it. You caught it.
I think it's hard to miss.
Okay. Well, somebody's missing, and it's Boris.
Intentional. She's like, everybody thinks I'm barren, but it's like the tastes of this, my husband, just everybody knows you don't get pregnant from there.
From that place.
From that place.
Yeesh.
Yeesh.
All right, so then Gruntle visits Stani, who's now started a new business as a dueling instructor for rich kids, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't really care. Like, they're all kind of jerks, and she just takes their money, and
It's so like the they're kids of rich other jerks, so it's like the nepotism in academia classic tale. Like, great, these kids show up, and if I actually try and tell them or train them in a way that matters, their parents are like, they're like, do you know who my dad is? And so it's like, you're doing great,
totally.
Timmy. Wow, great job, Timmy. And then she's just like, I'll collect their money. Who cares? They'll retire.
Totally.
Whatever.
Yeah. She's like the special coach for the kid. We want little Timmy to be awesome at soccer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of vibe. And Gruntle's like, man, why don't you go visit your son? She's like, I can't because, he's a child of rape, and I can't. It's hard. She's like, but I've been giving him money. And she's like, what? He doesn't have any money. Gruntle's like, but he doesn't have any money. He's like, no. I've been giving it to Snell. And I was like, no,
Snell.
Don't give it to Snell, you fool.
Oh my goodness.
Don't trust the Snell. And we find out what Snell does with that money momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
But Gruntle's like, hey, man, Stony, what do you think about me taking a job as a shareholder of the Trigal Trade Guild?
And she's like, oh, it's so cool that you want to die. Wow, really good. Real mature.
Yeah. He's like, but I could earn money for myself instead of like paying the man. I'm an actual stakeholder in this business. It's it's good. I work hard and I get my reward. And she's like, every time you come back from a bad trip, you think this garbage. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
And he leaves. He's walking through the city, and he's just like, I could murder everybody here.
Me, I'm a cat man.
Yeah,
I could kill everybody instantly.
Yeah.
And is it? No, it's later.
Yeah,
I'll get to it.
What happens next, though, is we get into Snell's POV, who uses that bag of coins that he got from a mom,
from Stani,
and smacks him upside the head.
It's brutal, and like the sort of third person sort of perspective on it, of like when we're in Harlow's perspective of being like, he's admiring the hills, and who knows, this could be the last time he looks at anything. I guess we'll find out. And then he hits him over the head, and it's like, yeah, is he dead? Maybe.
Yeah,
And you're
maybe.
like, is he? It's horrible.
And Snell couldn't care less, right? Snell's like, oh, he's dead. He's dead. He's out of my life.
And Snell's obviously a bit of a sociopath, but Snell also, you know, it has that little touch of, it's extreme jealousy. It's this is the brother that I never asked for, and now he's the baby and gets all the attention, and everybody loves him, and like, there is like a little sorrowful streak through even all the still very sociopathic.
He's a monster, but you also go, I mean, he has a point, you know, not a point, but he's got, you know, you can sympathize.
He's got a motivation.
Yeah.
But
good news, bad news. Good news, not dead. Other good news, someone stumbles upon him. Little Harlo pulls him out.
Questionably good news.
Bad news is this person also seems like a monster.
This person, I mean, I felt like the writing of it, it's like, oh, we finally have someone, and my wife always wanted a son. And you're like, oh, and it's like, to work the fields, and you know what you do with kids. And you're like, what?
No, please don't do this to my heart. Little Harlo gets, and it's like he will never see the light of day again. And like,
I know. He's going
come on.
Well, he's like our beautiful family that lives in the mines. And so it's like the mix of like he's not dead, but then it's like going to something that he will wish he's died.
Yes. Yeah. It somehow got worse. From getting hit with the sack of coins to the face.
Oh, Harlo.
Harlo, you're killing me over here, buddy.
Yeah, big sad.
Then we move over to old Cutter, our old friend Cutter / Crocus. He's just thinking about Abslar, you know, and what's life going to be like now? What do I do next? And Murillo, his old pal, is like, oh man, you're what have you gone through? You really changed. You've really, you know, gone through something. And you actually beat Rake in a knife fight. That's impressive.
Cutter's like the things heartbreak will do to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough, honestly.
He's like, I beat Rake. You know what also is shocking is you lost a duel, Murillo. And he's like, well, I didn't have any pants.
He's like, in another sense, I won a duel. If you get my meaning.
And Murillo's like, you know what? I think it might be time for me to retire from my career of womanizing. He's like, I hear that there's this new dueling school somebody started up. Maybe I'll work there and just collect a paycheck and, you know, live on the simpler life.
And maybe womanize the person who started it. Who knows?
We'll see. Crocus like, all right. He takes off. And then we check in with Rake, who's healed up pretty well from Crocus's slice and dice. Yeah. And Irilta comes in, the old the lady of the inn, and she's like, hey, I got your favorite honey-soaked figs. He's like, that's not my wait a second. That's Murillo's favorite. Is she a little confused, or is this all a setup for me to go visit old Murillo? And they reminisce, and they're like, man, remember when we had that plot to save Cole? That's crazy how it worked. Like, it worked. Like, what we did actually worked. That's wild. That never happens. I kind of feel like Erikson's like, yeah, in my novels that never happened. This is the one time a plan worked. As planned.
We can all reminisce together about the one time.
I love it. And Ralik's like, well, what should I do? Should I kill the new head of the Assassin's Guild and become the new Assassin's Guild? Should I wait for Vorkan to reappear and deal with that? And Murillo's like, oh, dude, so much has happened since you went night-night. There's been like 7 books of things that have happened.
You've been gone for a really long time.
I really should catch you up on a lot.
I know it's weird because the first person you saw has also been gone for a really long time and didn't know that you were gone, but you were both gone.
Yeah.
For so long.
And stuff has happened. Let me tell you. We then head over to Torvald Nom, the other Nom. Nom Nom Nom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nom Nom Nom. Ralik Nom to Torvald Nom right over there. And you and I last week were expressing some concern about Torvald and Tessera's relationship, and how it's all lovey-dovey, but he had just gotten it on with some rando in the
just assaulted another woman.
Yeah, just
for treasure.
Just literally a sexual assault. Yeah. It turns out they have an open relationship and it's all cool.
Yeah.
Because Tessera has also been stepping out, and Torvald's cool with it. He's cool with it.
He's cool with it, but he's like, you better not tell me who, because I'll kill him.
yeah. But also tell me who. But also don't.
Tell
She's
me
like,
who,
but should I tell
if
you
you want them dead.
Yeah. And it's funny because she, the story that we know, that we lived through with him of, being a slave and breaking out with this crazy Carsa Orlon character and all this, going into a boat and being attacked by giant fish and all the craziness that we experienced with him. She's like,
right.
Lie to me. Yeah. Right.
The fish.
What's a cubit?
How many good deeds? Right. A giant man.
So funny. The one thing she is mad about is that he's associating with that scorching left again. Those guys are up to no good.
Every time you did little plans with them, it was a bad time, and you're doing it
scene.
again.
Yeah. Speaking of which, next scene, Scorching Left are at the Phoenix Inn, waiting for Torvald Nom to show up.
Yeah.
And Krupp is eating real good.
Last time we saw them, Krupp was telling them, I can't believe you trusted him. And then, off camera, I guess Torvald found them down at the docks and said, meet me at the Phoenix Inn. Right. So there's been some other interaction with them. So they're feeling less antsy about their situation. That's
right. And, Krupp is insinuating that they were still dumb for thinking that he'll ever show up. And then in he walks. And he's like, I got the money, guys. Here you go. Here's the money. It's all good. We're good. Take my name off the list. I'm all good. Everything's great. And Krupp's like, hey, another Nom is in town. Nom, nom, nom. Mm-hmm. As he nom, nom, noms, he tells him about nom, nom, nom.
Is this the scene where it describes him eating as literally a blur of his hands?
Like snakes.
Yeah. And then just the bulging cheeks. And I can picture just your mouth can't even close around it and still just chewing. It's disgusting.
He's got fang fingers digging into pastries and just popping them into his mouth.
Picture a tart. And instead of grabbing it delicately and eating it, being it's not even the best way to enjoy that. So gross.
Yeah. I always am reminded of that scene from Animal House. I don't know if you've ever seen that with John Belushi, puts the entire donut in his mouth at once.
I have. Oh. I've not seen that, but I've seen that.
Yeah. It's famous. Anyway. But Krupp's like, yeah, this is a relic character. If you're the black sheep of the family, he's the even blacker sheep of the family. And Torvald's like, I don't know if I should meet him. I don't really want to do that. Then we jump over to Duiker, who's just kind of hanging out in the back of the of Cruel's bar, watching the old former bridge burners, thinking about
Moody
them.
Boy.
That's right. That's right. Old Moody Boy. And there's some drama with Blend and Picker and Antsy as usual, but the real thrust of you can say it's something you want.
I'm is it the as usual drama between them, or is that them? Is this the moment where they all wake up and realize that they were what happened last night? Does that happen?
No, this is later.
Okay.
Well, maybe we see it from two different angles, but this is not that scene.
Yeah.
But Blend is like imagining that Picker is walking up Solara's room, even though she didn't even go there.
So
That's
yeah.
But the thrust of this scene is that there's a new character. I think he's new. You can correct me if I'm just not remembering him. But this new character, a bard. Love a bard. Love a bard.
Love a bard.
By the name of Fisher.
I believe of the so many epigraphs.
Yes.
Fisher
Good
Keltoth.
call.
And I think the epigraph for the next chapter is another Fisher Keltoth special.
So good.
We haven't
I love
met him
this.
yet. Yeah.
That is very cool. And I knew I recognized the name, and you're absolutely right. That's awesome. But Fisher and Duiker decide they're going to team up. Fisher's like, hey, I heard you were on the chain of dogs. I heard you've been having a hard time describing it and writing it down. You know what you need. Maybe it's not prose, baby. Maybe it's a song.
Well, I liked that he was like, well, I was able to tell the story, but I can't write the history. And it's because him trying to write the history, he's trying to write it like a textbook.
Yeah.
And he's pulling the emotion out of it. He's making it completely objective. Like the way in which I picture him trying to write this and being like, this is not what matters.
Right.
It's not ABC. It is everything surrounding it. And so him being like,
he's like, do it intensely personal, make it intensely personal and lean into the emotion instead of trying to pull it out. So cool.
So having this bard be like, this is my specialty, baby.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. So cool. They become Lennon and McCartney. The other thing I think was cool is that they have this little back and forth about, he's like, there's no god of bards. We don't even have, it's like, that's kind of cool. It kind of makes us special. We don't have a patron god of bards. He's like, what about historians? Any god for historians? He's like, no, there isn't.
And they're
like,
we're
on
free.
our own.
We're free.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of rad.
Yeah.
So they're gonna team up. I love that. I love that scene.
I love that. And I'm also like, is this like the start of the journey to them becoming gods of those things?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's funny.
They're like, I see a space in the ascendancy.
Oh, yeah.
Dress for the job you want, baby.
All right, so then this is the scene you were kind of referring to, where Picker and Char and Blend and Nancy all wake up and they're like, what happened? Wait, did you and me and he and all of us, and did we all and everything?
Did I hold a boob? The thing I loved about it is in the scene where they're like trading the alcohol back and forth, the waitress is like, you're all disgusting. And we're like, that's so funny. They're not doing that. And then they're like cartoon waking up with just the holding the sheets over them, like, we are doing that. And I also just love the idea of Solara being like, drink up, and then being like, let's go.
It's just like, da na 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 na. Yeah, just like. And then we immediately cut to Blue Pearl, who's like desperately looking for some of that coral milk in the cellar. I gotta give me some of that.
It's the milk. That's what did it.
That's what did it. And it's just this delightful little moment that I feel like totally could come back and be a thing, but also could just be typical Erikson of like something that could be a whole subplot is just this one little moment of this ghost who's halfway through the ground and is just like, hey, are you the guy? And he's like, no, I'm not the guy. And he's like, bummer.
He's like, get out of here. He's like, look how old you are. You're so irrelevant. You're not even literally on the same plane.
Yeah.
Like enough is built up that you aren't even at this level. You can't even haunt this place properly. Get out of here. And he's like, oh, applesauce. And like leaves.
Like, nobody wears tri-corner hats anymore.
I love that.
Just a great little moment. Just a beautiful little moment. And I kind of feel like it's just for flavor, you know?
Yep.
So good. All right, so back to our shareholders of the TTG. and they're getting the carriage all ready. They're getting the horses all amped up and ready to rock. They're strapping things to the side, and in walks Gruntle. He's like, "Hey, can I get a job?"
And they're like, "No, ew."
Yeah. Master Cole's like, "No, dude, no. You are a leader of these kinds of things. I don't want another leader here who's going to be questioning everything I do, every command I give." And then Mappo's like, "Hey, that guy, that's awesome. He's here. It's great. Let's do this."
Like, why do you think you know him? Well, I was like, well, he's that soul-taking tiger man. All right. And Gruntle's like, well, I'm not.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this later.
And again, I know, Lana, at this point, I know that it's become extremely tiresome that I compare every single thing to Ghostbusters. But this is that scene in Ghostbusters where they're touring the fire station and they're talking to the real estate agent and they're like, "This is all busted and broken." And then Dan Aykroyd comes down the fire pole. He's got a fire pole and it's awesome. Well, we'll take it. And they're like, and then the real estate agent turns and is like, "Oh, you'll take it, huh?" So I write up the paperwork. That's how it felt to me, where it's like, there's no universe where I'm taking Gruntle on this thing. And Mappo walks in and he's like, "Gruntle's here. This Rock's a soul taken. Let's do this."
Very much that same energy. Very much that same energy.
Tune in next week for more Ghostbusters scenes.
Will we reference Slimer? Only you can find out.
It's funny that the previous scene literally had a ghost, and I did not reference Ghostbusters, but this scene. No, all right, so I'm in love with the idea of Gruntle and Mappo and these knuckleheads from the TTG all teaming up and having an adventure now.
I'm down for Mappo adventures on the road with a buddy.
Totes.
Yeah.
Totes. Yeah. All right. So then we have this lovely, all these chapters seem to be buttressed or bookended by, Krupp's narration, which I absolutely adore. I love the way he speaks and narrates these scenes. And when he talks about the city as this living thing, and we check in with all these little people all around the city and how they're all sort of unaware of each other, but he's aware of all of them, or how he's telling this tale. So good.
It is so good. And especially because it is like so distinctly, it's like somewhere between his most obnoxious, most overwrought version of himself and his most humble, most competent version of himself.
Yeah.
And so it's still this floweriness and sort of a feeling to everything he describes. It's a nice balance.
It's so good. I love it. And he checks in on a number of people, the last of whom is Harlo, who he says the shepherd that found him is flinging a coin into a fountain, I guess, to wish for the last tyrant of Darujistan, and that Harlo may never see the sun again. It's just so dark, so sad.
Little Harlo.
Little Harlo.
He didn't choose this.
This shepherd was like, "Oh, I'm going to save this little boy and use him for the evil things I want." Blah. All right, that's the end of chapter 7. Chapter 8. We start with Traveler and Samar Dev, who are traveling. They're hot on the heels of Carsa Orlong, who is freeing slaves, baby. That's what he do.
Mm-hmm. I love that they're traveling and they're like, maybe it's best we don't talk much of one another. Unless you think you're going to be here for a while. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll stick around." He's like, "I should tell you a bunch of stuff."
yeah. Then I really need to talk about you should know some stuff.
I was looking forward to companionable silence, but
yeah,
it's clearly I got to tell you what we're up against here.
That's great. And I mean, she basically warns Samar warns Traveler about Carsa, and he's like, "Oh, so did Carsa kill that emperor who has the cursed sword?" And she's like, "Yeah, yup." And he's like, "Oh, I bet he took the sword, right?" Which I love this scene because it's exactly what happened. And they're surmising it. And of course, Traveler's like, of course, nobody would say no to that kind of power. And of course, we know that Carson did say no.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that he's sussing it out, but sussing it out in a way that any cynical person would.
Yeah. Like if you don't know,
that's right.
Then you don't know. Why would you think anything else?
You don't know. Yes. Cord keeps getting undone here. It's super cool. And, Samar clearly still has some mixed up feelings about it, about Carsa. And there's this theme that starts to emerge here in chapter 8 about civilization, which we'll get to more toward the end of the chapter. But even here, Samara says, like, civilized people and barbarians, there's no difference between them,
which I think
civilization is savage, just like barbarism.
Yeah, but the thing I think is interesting because that was Samar and Carsa, some of their first conversations of Carsa being like, "Your civilization," and she's like, "Oh, you think you're so much better? You're not. Like, think of these things." And so the fact that her position is like they're actually basically the same, it shows that she's changed. Like Carsa has changed her.
Yeah,
and I also just love that she's coming into the whole conversation with this energy of being like, blah, 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 blah. These things about Carsa. He's like a noble dude. These are the things we've been through. And Traveler's like, right. And you're here to return his horse. And she's like, yep, absolutely no other reasons.
Just traveling for days on end with barely any food or drink.
Across the continent.
And sort of
you have a crush on him. Shut up. I don't have a crush. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. All right. Then the next scene is one of my favorites from this week. The captain, this character of the captain who we heard tell of last week, and we were kind of maybe trying to figure out who it is. Clearly a completely new character and just an amazing backstory. So beautifully summarized in the beginning of this scene. Where he it's almost like the I don't know if you saw There Will Be Blood, the Daniel Day-Lewis character at the beginning who finds the gold and then like barely lives to get it out. But this is what the captain is like. He's just the 11-year-old that got crucified, but through sheer force of will, not only survives with these horrible wounds and scars and disfigurement, but then ascends to being a leader and slave owner and this kind of, dominant force that moves this cavalcade that is constantly in motion through, across the land, being
describing
pulled the city.
The entire palace, its court,
amazing.
Everything that would surround that in a city, but it's all in motion and all of the ways in which he keeps that. And like, there's other carriages where people are like sleeping and cooking and doing all the things until it's their turn to switch out and pull the things. He's crucified as a boy and then rips his hands and feet through the nails.
Ugh.
So that he has these big wounds. He's horribly disfigured, but like the power of his pain and the blood soaking the earth was enough to like sort of beckon forth ancient land spirits that effectively heal him, inhabit him.
Yeah.
And then this whole description of what this world is, this sort of the facade of benevolence about like, I'm a leader, I'm giving these people a society to be a part of because of who I am.
Yeah.
And
I'm so nice and benevolent. Yeah.
And how this is so dismantled, evaporated in front of his eyes. Does it all happen back to back to back, or does it cut away?
That's a good question. It cuts away. We do have a Anander scene in the middle, but the it reminds me this like moving, constantly in motion, sort of slave, kind of disgusting haves and have nots dichotomy. It reminds me of something out of Mad Max.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, one of the
all the war boys would be towing
that's
it or
right.
something.
Yes, totally. It's so evocative and so cool. And the description of how this society works and how they just kind of move from place to place and take over people and subjugate them. And then this messenger comes and is like, hey, so everybody's getting slaughtered.
And even just like he sees the messenger coming and he's like, he's riding that horse too hard. I know he's probably doing it to impress me, but he's actually ruining the horse and I'll kill him for it if the reason isn't good enough.
I'll execute him in front of everybody so they all see.
In the standard way, trampling by all the horses.
Oh, so every little detail is so consistent with the culture, right?
Yeah.
I also love the detail that we haven't mentioned yet too, is not only is he infused with these spirits, but he thinks there's still ants in his ears. The ants crawled in his ears and he thinks they're still in his brain. He can feel them moving around in his brain. Just so horrifying to me, that notion. Oh,
nasty. Gnarly.
And he immediately knows when, Carsa shows up, basically breaks the chains, immediately freeing the slaves. And the captain is like, well, that's it for me. It was a good run.
He immediately knows. And this is the thing that really struck me, because to me, the thing I felt about it is Carsa is so infused with the Trotterol, because he's saying, like, if it was a magical thing, the scout comes and gives him his report laced with his own assumptions and being like, he must be using sorcery to conceal himself. And he's like, oh yeah, did your boss tell you to say that, or is that your thought? And he's like, that's my thought. He's like, well, I didn't tell you to have a thought. Okay, keep it to yourself.
Right.
And then even the fact that they have sorcerers that probably could have found him is like, it's the Totterol that has concealed Carsa from them and their senses. And the thing that I thought was interesting was the spirits or whatever that are inhabiting the captain start screaming and they flee. And to me, it sort of spoke of like an aura that Carsa might have, that depending on how far like 100 people pulling these things are, how far away can you get from someone where he's possibly radiating that Totterol?
Right.
And the magic of the spirits leaving this guy, maybe they were just afraid of him, but the thing that it seemed likely to me is actually the Totterol pushing it all away. No magic works on this guy. And the holes, the wounds in his body just start bleeding again immediately because there's no more magic infusing his body and keeping them sealed. And then he just watches him bleed out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So amazing. And I think there's even a line of, Carsa Orlong, who overthrew this entire situation without swinging a sword, It's so rad. It's so rad. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that reading of it. That's how it landed on me as well. And it's just Carsa's so badass,
And he seems to only be like gaining power, because I don't think that he always had such a wide aura. It was like his thing. And now I'm like, it's affecting further and further and further physically away from his body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then we head over to Anander and all of the folks, Ketavis, Nananda, Desra, Arantha, Clip, who's soulless, and our boy Calor. I guess my boy. And there's this, there's a lot of sort of internal Anander life in this chapter, which is I found to be really. Anander has not until now been a favorite character of mine.
I thought he came across as like such a whelp.
Yeah,
and now he's like, are they hot? Am I hot? Am I wanted? Oh, I'm competent. I'm like, what's going on? You got a makeover? What's happening to you?
Yeah. Well, he kind of asks that of himself. He's like, why am I attracted to all these people all of a sudden? But there's this great moment where, he's like, usually Kedivus has this withering stare at everybody where it's either you fall in love with her or you want to murder her, or you leave, you fear her. And Amanda's like, well, I was never good at choosing. I'm never good at decisions. So it's kind of for both for me.
Yeah.
And Anander's like, you know what we should do? We should get rid of Calor by throwing rocks at him. And everybody's like, what? That's a terrible idea. This guy gonna throw rocks at that guy?
This guy who gives the aura of he can and will kill us. We're gonna do it. We're gonna throw a rock. We're gonna pull a Snell on this guy.
Yeah.
I think not.
And Desra's like, hey, Arantha should
Aranatha is what I've been saying.
Yeah, Aranatha. You're right, Aranatha. She should deal with Clip, and Amanda's like, what? She's not a healer. It's like, yeah, but still, and you should be the one to tell her to do it because she listens to you.
She's got an interesting deal where it seems like everything she's saying, like our first introduction to her was sort of like that she's like a little bit disconnected, and then suddenly she has like a big unveiling of power to sort of protect them all. And now he's like, will you deal with Clip? And she's like, okay.
Yeah. You feel me? Feel me, bro?
Feel me yet?
Feel me?
Yet?
Feel me, bro?
I'm like, what's going on? Everybody's so horny.
I love how she just tosses Calor like into the wagon when he tries to get a little cop a feel.
Well, that's the thing that made me laugh, especially because I already felt like these chapters are so horny. And then I'm like, even Calor is like, gotta go for a booty squeeze. And then he's like, just like out on the ground.
It's so
like,
funny.
I had to try. And I'm
he's
like,
you know what? You only miss the chances you don't take. And then Aranatha turns to Namander's like, now you feel me, bro? Now you feel me,
bro? You feel
so
me?
Good.
See my power?
Yeah. All right, then we hop over to Endest. Endest is just thinking about so many things: the world, water, rivers,
his buddy,
being a young student in Carcanis, and he runs into Anander Rake in this weird hallway that has tapestries on the wall that nobody likes.
Oh yeah.
They're
like, not only are the tapestries like super disconcerting because they're about this place that we like failed to save or whatever, but it's also in the wrong order.
It's like, who hung these and why have we just left them here? Yeah. And that's basically the whole scene, is just like this kind of weird interaction between them and talking about like, these tapestries are not an accurate representation of what happened. And Endest says that Rake forgives too easily. It's kind of an odd interaction.
And in the tapestry, go ahead.
No, you.
In the tapestry that they're looking at, one of the things that they sort of discuss is this river that I guess was featured pretty prominently in their lives and was effectively like a holy space for them.
Yeah.
But they don't have access to it anymore. And then Anamander's kind of like, well, there is another river that's definitely not the same river, but maybe worth looking at.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, but definitely not the same. And I'm like, is it not the same? Why? Okay, sure. Maybe it's just a different water you'll like.
And then another Rake scene, this time with Spinach Darav. And this is a cool setup for a scene where Rake is just like, I'm impervious to fire, so I'm going to stick my feet in the fire and just let my boots burn. I love that.
It's so ridiculous. He's like,
so good.
Gotta get new shoes again.
Yeah.
What a silly boy.
I've been at a campfire. I know how that goes. But Spinach is worried about his buddy, of course, the Seerdomin, and kind of surprised that Rake knows what's going on with him. And Rake is like, yeah, that Itkovian character, I admire that guy, but he's made some strange mistakes. He could forgive everyone but himself. And Spinach's like somebody I know.
Sound familiar? Takes one to know one.
Evidently, Spinach was ordered to chase a dragon during the siege of Capustan, which I don't think we ever saw on screen, but interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start talking about the Redeemer and the limitations that the Redeemer is evidently taking all of the thing from his followers, but not asking anything of them.
It's
and
like
this feels like a recurring theme in Erikson's discussions of deities, where it's like, it is this two-way street. And if, there's this notion of the Redeemer being in a state of imbalance because of that.
Yeah. And as far as I could tell, like the Redeemer is Ikovian,
Right.
Like who he is after
Who
his
he's
sacrifice.
like ascending into. Yeah.
But the Redeemer continues his sacrifice. And so even the thing, it's in imbalance because he's asking nothing in return, but it is also like what he is as a deity. Can he actually keep that up forever? Can you really just continue to absolve everybody else and take on their pain forever? So even the thing that is the one-way street, it's not like the god of assassinations. It's like he killed a bunch of people for everybody else forever or whatever it would be. It's he's absolving their pain and personally taking it on. And so it seems like there's this little bomb that's ticking over there. And I don't know what that means, but everybody's like, seems bad.
Well, it also seems to indicate that, because the Redeemer doesn't say no to anyone, there has to be someone that does say no to everyone. And that's what the Seer Domin is doing now.
Yes.
Is like, he's balancing that scale
together.
Of I am only going to say no to people because the Redeemer only says yes to people.
Seer Domin the Petulant. No.
Yeah.
I
thought that was interesting. Yeah. And then Rake's like, hey, so say hi to the high priestess for me.
Just like, the priestess.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he says, say hi to the priestess. And then he goes to see the high priestess.
And realizes that's not the chick that he told him to say hi to.
And then
awkward.
Yeah. Awkward. Who's this? Go ahead.
They straight up get it on.
And also he's like, oh, the priestess, she's gonna want to bang.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
he
that's
knows
how she
that
communes with God,
darkness.
I guess. Yeah. Right. Is that there's something about using her body in that way that gets her closer to God.
But is this also like, I forget, where is Iskarl Pust? Is this the darkness priestess who he was like, she's gonna want me?
Oh no, is it?
I don't remember where he is, so I don't remember.
Yeah, is it?
But
Selin?
I was like, no, that is the priestess that we're gonna talk to in a second.
That's who Rake was actually telling him.
Yes,
and it's so funny where he's like, oh, BT Dubs. Anander Rake says hi, and she's like, he does?
Why?
He says hi. What? That's super weird. And then Spinock is like, oh, not you.
And he's like grabbing his clothes.
Two priestesses. We really need more specific way to describe you guys.
If only we caught your name. Because that's the thing, is like, I don't think we ever did catch her name in this scene. Like who the darkness priestess is.
Yeah, we never know the high priestess's name, but we know Selin, the other priestess.
But the only reason
Redeemer's priestess.
Yes, the only reason I thought that maybe she was the same priestess of Iskarl Pust is because Iskarl Pust is the darkness guy, the first mage of it, like whatever. I forget what the title is. And so I thought like, oh, maybe that's the connection, is we've met this priestess before. She's hanging with Iskarl Pust. And Iskarl Pust was like, you'll bang me. And I guess maybe she would, actually, if it's the same person, but I don't actually know. I couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm. I also don't know.
Yeah.
I like how Spinock's like, so what is your take on this whole Redeemer cult? And she's like, oh, if he's thinking about taking on all of the Tistandi sadness, it's not going to work out well for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's like, it's, the cult is still young. Who knows what's next for the cult? Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go oil my sword. And she's like, classic Spinock. All right. Guess we're done here.
She's
Oil
like,
your
oh, I
sword,
thought
buddy.
I was oiling your. Okay.
And then we cut over to Selin, who's definitely not having as good of a time as those other two. He went to the. I mean, he made the right choice of which priestess to go to. Let me
If
just
you have
tell
to
that.
start somewhere.
Yeah. She is not feeling good about her progress of
She's
bringing
like,
the Seer Domain. The Seer Domain is, is benighted, and everybody in town is getting raped. It's not good. Things are not good.
yeah.
All the pilgrims. Yeah.
All the protections that were there when the benighted seemed to be right with them were gone.
Yeah. And this Gradathan person, not a nice person.
Nope.
Spinnock does show up though, and Selin's like, "Hey, I'm not feeling good. It's because the Redeemer is also not feeling good. We're all sick here. Everything sucks."
She's like, BTW, do you know I'm a child of the dead seed?
Yeah.
Anyway, my life's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be crass, but she basically says, like, it's so bad that no one will rape me.
I know. It's like, and like being like, I know I'm not ugly, but like nobody even wants to assault me. It's crazy.
That's that line from Arrested Development. Like anyone wants to R her.
I don't know. I can't believe that didn't immediately come to mind. Ooh, who would want to R her?
It's a rape whistle. Anyway, yeah, it's I mean, it's so sad. And she's she's like, okay, here's what I'll do. Spinnock is like, okay, here's what I'll do. I will take you out of here, and I'll send healers in here for the rest of the camp. We'll get this place back in tip-top shape. And she's like, okay, but don't rape me.
Yeah.
She's like, don't interpret what I said as
that I want that. I don't.
I don't. Not good.
And she's also like, no, don't. And he's like, you are literally dying. And she's like, what? And just passes out. Because she's like feverish and was on the verge of death. I guess.
Yes, and he carries her outside, and all the people around, he's like, hey, everybody, Anander and Rake will be here real soon, and he's gonna he knows about all the bad stuff going on here now, and so we're gonna make it better for all of you.
And in the meantime, cut it out, you guys, huh? just think about stop that. All right, anyway, back to the darkness.
And then we check in on the aforementioned Gradathan, who is a former Erdo man of the Panian Domain, which, as we recall, not nice people.
Bad situation.
Bad folks. They are plotting to kill Spinnock, and are pretty happy that the Seer Domain is refusing to do his role of the whatever he does, the furthering the Redeemer's cult.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's really leaving a wide window open for some bad stuff to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a target-rich environment.
Yes, that's right. And then so Gradathan looks up at Solana's tower and is like, I'm going to destroy that tower. And then we immediately cut over to Solana, who's like, I'm going to kill that dude.
I know. I love that he's like, that stupid building's so ugly. And she's like, first of all, not a building. Second of all, you're dead. I see everything.
So good. So good. All right. So back to Anander, who is, really going through things, thinking about how you need rage to be good at sword fighting and how it relates to pottery. He thinks about hanging out with Dead Smell and talking about battle rage being a gift from the gods.
Dead Smell just being wherever they were on the boats and getting everybody drunk and making them talk about their past.
Yep. And then there's this lovely little anecdote about how Endist was like the caretaker of all the little Rake children.
Yeah.
Or grandchildren, I guess it is. I don't know if it's children or grandchildren.
The Rake lineage. I think they said father.
Okay. But he was like this scary giant man that he was also super nice to them. So they totally took advantage of him and played pranks on him.
Yeah.
Oh, kids.
There's also
then-
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's also something that it always sort of makes me giggle just when I'm thinking about it, of being like, my name is Anander. Oh, I've got a kid. I guess just Namander. It's like if your son's name was F. Just gets me.
My son's name is F.
Yeah.
Anander.
Namander.
I'm Anander. Someday I hope to be the Mamander.
Yeah.
All
Anyway.
right. So then Andarist shows up one day and is like, "You kids, I'm gonna whip you into shape. We're all going to the island. We're all going to the island where we're gonna turn into soldiers. I'm gonna make adults out of you." And Namander's, thinking back to how, children are the perfect soldiers because they don't fear death. They don't have a refined sense of empathy yet.
Yeah. And you don't have to teach it to them.
Yeah.
And just even like that, the connection between like the thing that makes a kid's life of like joyful and just going around and doing things because they don't know, and then teaching them to do the things that they don't know about with intent and not teaching them anything else. So they still have child minds,
Yeah.
but with the lethal ability. I just liked that the two sides of that coin.
Yeah. I mean, you wonder why, you could, the age to join the army is younger than the age to drink. It's not a mystery.
And the other thing about it that I thought was so interesting is, the picture of them like looking at Endist and being so cruel to him and tripping him and laughing at him, but still in their hearts being like, well, we did really like him because he took care of us. And then you're like, oh, Andarist, he's like the drill sergeant whipping them to shape, but they also love and respect him. Like the two sides of that authority figure and what that was to them in their lives, I thought was also sort of well said.
Yeah. Then it comes back into the present with Namander and Kalor arguing about how, nothing changes. And I love this little through line of like, nothing changes. Nothing changes.
I like it. And then also just I don't know if it's right the next scene, but then like knocking on the door and the, mystery voice inside is like, what? Nothing changes. And Kalor being like,
yep. I told you.
What I said.
I told you. You mocked me when I said it. Yeah. All right. So Namander's like, hey, BT Dubs, Kalor, we're going to find the dying god to get Clip's soul back. And he's like, oh, you're mistaking me for someone that's going to help you?
I didn't ask for your life story. I'll be in the wagon.
Yeah. He's like, what are you guys going to do when you meet old daddy, old Mr. Rake? My father's name was Mr. Rake.
Yeah.
And he's like, I met him a couple of times. Did not go well. Also, he's probably pretty pissed at me. What with the fact that I killed his one friend that he's made in the last 1,000 years. So I'm going to lay low and let him just kind of get over that.
Yeah, I'll give it a couple centuries and then we'll see if we can meet up for a coffee.
Yeah. And then they spot some ruins, and Kalor's like, those look like jagged ruins. And he strides in, pushes the staked corpse out of the way, and knocks on the door. And the Jagged inside, who we find out is Gothos himself, recognizes Kalor. And he's like, nothing changes. Nothing changes. And I like how Gothos is like making tea and cookies. That's how he's spending his eternity inside the Azath house.
I forget. I think I pulled it as like a favorite sentence, but there's something that he says. It's like this ominous thing and all the things that I could do, and I'll make a tea.
That's right. Yeah. It's not an Azath, I don't know, wasteland.
Yeah.
Some culture in here. It's in the Zath house.
It's more
in
of
the
a
house. We
Zath
have tea and
home.
cookies. He said, but I ate all the cookies. There's no more cookies. Don't ask for cookies because I ate all the cookies. I didn't know I was having company. I ate the cookies. So Gothos talks about beast gods and a wolf god that visited. He basically knows about DNA.
I know.
Which is pretty rad, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can scratch your skin and everything is in here. It's like some sort of code.
Anyway.
Anywho, that's neither here nor there.
Let's not dwell on that.
And Keller's like, I've killed a few Jagat in my time. And they talk about Raced, the Jagat tyrant.
Raced is Gothos' son?
No, isn't Ikariam Gothos' son?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Sorry. That's the one.
Yeah.
Raced is just another messed up Jagat. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gothos is like, try the tea. And Keller's like, I don't know. He's like, try the tea. Grabs his hand.
Oh, you're going to be in my house and you're not going to try my tea? Get it off the floor, coward.
Yeah. Drink.
Yeah.
And Anander and Shintik drink, and it turns out the tea was drugged.
Which is like, it's so funny that he's like, I needed a guy. Am I supposed to just not try and collect a guy when there's a guy here?
Because the guys walked into my house.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not drug them.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get there. Sorry.
Yeah. So we head outside, and these scenes back and forth of like inside the Azath house and outside. Desra is thinking about Andaris' last words to her, which are, you must take the world as it is. Mm-hmm. And this whole musing on strong versus weak people, which I thought was really awesome. And then right at the end of that is this ominous thing where she's like, everybody's weak, and the strong ones are usually bullies, and I've been a bully and it sucks. But I have found someone who's awesome, and it ain't Anander.
Oh,
like, it's not Calor, right?
No, it is Anander. So I had to read that a couple times too, because I was like, what? It seems weird to be like, I found somebody great. Not that one guy in particular. It is Anander. What she says is, there have been like people who are real jerks and people who have treated me like real jerks, but I found somebody who would never do that. The one person who would not do that, not Anander. So she's saying Amander's like the one person who would not do that to me. This guy wouldn't do it. Not Jeff. Jeff wouldn't do that. She's saying that's the
interesting
sort of intonation.
That is not how I read it at all. I read it as her saying it's not Anander, it's somebody else.
Yeah, I did that too. And then I was like,
interesting.
What? Because like the interesting part about that is that when they were in the house and Renatha was protecting them all, they were all like, you better watch out for Desra. She's just so hungry to like get her way. She'll do whatever. Right. And she doesn't care for you. She only cares for you because you're a leader right now. And being in her internal monologue of being like bullies and this, you're like, oh, we're going to see her. I think it's teeing up to assume that her internally is going to be like, and Amander's weak, and that's why I don't like him. But instead, she's like, this is the one person I've seen who actually strikes a balance that would not do these things. Not Anander. He wouldn't do it.
Okay. I'll buy that.
And that's why she does what she does.
Well, Kaller comes stumbling out and is like, I guess that Jaghut really decided to take Shintik and Anander. And she's like, ah! And she runs bolting toward the house.
Before that, they're like, drink the tea. And then he's like, actually, Kaller, I got to talk to these guys. Get out. And Kaller's like, fine. Like, I don't know why he listens, but he just does. So he leaves of his own accord. He's like, can you believe that guy just taking those other guys?
And she's like, he did the what now?
And so then Desra runs in.
Yeah. And then we see what happens. Shintik wakes up in this strange
skin tick.
Why do I keep saying Shintik? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's skin tick. You're right.
Yeah.
I know that's skin tick. I don't know why I keep saying that. I had a tick on my shin once. I don't know. He's in the skin though.
That's his brother.
Shintik and skin tick. Skin tick, pardon me. Wakes up in this crazy place. Corpses are there with strange clothes and gold teeth, and he's like, the sun is evil. That's what's the problem. It's the sun.
Honestly, this whole chapter, I was like, yes, that's why I left LA. This resonates. It feels like it's piercing through my whole soul. And then I only find freedom when I escape it.
You are Mother Dark herself. Lana Bachynski. And he's like, the dying god is dying because everyone dies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Gothos is like, wake up. And Skin Tick is laughing. He's like, it's weird that you're laughing. You shouldn't be laughing at this.
You're looking at the end of everything, and your reaction is to go, ha ha, I guess we all die.
You're the wrong person for this job.
Yeah.
I picked incorrectly. And
we don't know the job. We just know he's drugged them to like suss them out in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, the laughing boy. I'm not a fan. And Desra comes in and sees Gothos and Skin Tick, but she's like, where's Anander?
Right. Because when Anander was becoming drugged, he like was stumbling towards like the
ice wall,
dark ice walls.
Yeah.
That as they walk in, they're even like, is that ice walls? And there's like this strangeness to the space that they're in. And as he's drugged, Gothos is like, don't go over there. Come on. And then he like falls through the wall.
Yeah. I love that. He's like, Anander, wait, stop. No, wait, don't.
Stop. Don't go.
Stop. Wait. No, don't. Which I believe is yet another Ghostbusters reference. So we see where Anander has ended up. It is inside Dragon Blood land, where the spirits are trapped in dragon blood like amber. It was like their spirits are stuck here like amber, except it's not amber. It's dragon's blood. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And he meets this guy who calls himself an elder. He's like, did you have a name? He's like, I don't know.
Cruel?
Maybe at one point.
Is it cruel? Do I think everything is cruel? Well, he talks about the ice as blood, and then he is the guy making Azoth houses, which connect all together. And don't they connect to all the warrens and all the holds? And isn't that Cruel's
That's interesting. Thing? But why would Cruel be... I feel like this is a distinct... I feel like this is a new Azoth contractor. He's just like, all I do is build Azoth houses, tract housing for the Azoth. Don't get any recognition for it. Not even a thank you. Well, Gothos shows up, is like adequate, and then leaves. I feel like Gothos would not treat Cruel that way,
So there's something about him being an elder, and then the connection with the warrens and the houses. I was like, yeah. And also just the interest of him being like, I am but a baby, and I am lost. And then he's like, oh no, because Cruel's like been out. We like talked to him.
Yeah.
But like this guy's like, I'm a baby. And he's like, okay, we'll build one more house. And he's like, I can do that. And you're like, whoa. You're like turned into like, he goes, I change when I build houses. And you're like, what does that mean? Sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I love how
probably not him.
I just love how there's an Azoth contractor who's just like, it's a living. It's what I do. I'm trapped here, but I build houses and I'm super proud of them. I've worked really hard on it. And then this guy comes in, he's like, it's fine. And I'm like, screw you, buddy. I worked hard on that house.
Yeah, just goes to show you, nobody likes their boss, huh?
That's right.
Nobody likes their boss.
Amander's like, hey, okay, build one more and I'll stay and you can go. Elder's like, you don't have to do that for me, buddy. It's like, no. I'm going to do that for you, buddy. He's like, well, I can build a house big enough for the both of us. And then we could both be in the house.
It's so interesting because I'm like, what's the structure of the house that you can't leave? He's like, the last brick has to go from the outside. And I'm like, you're a giant dude. You can't just be like,
beachy outsies?
Yeah.
Beachy outsies aroundsies? Yeah.
But then they like, I guess back and forth, it feels like weeks and weeks are passing while they're building this house.
Yeah.
And Amander's like, make sure the last rock is this right size for me to finish it out. And then they're even then down to the last minute debating of who's in the house and who's outside the house. And Anander climbs out the window and he's like, I got it. But the rock
then it
was
turns
still too
real
big.
bad.
Yeah.
It's like, it's no problem. I got it. Oh, my fingers.
Oh, my hands and all my flesh.
And all the corpses that are grabbing me. Yeah. Not great. It's spirits of Tisti and D, Adur, Leosin. These are all the folks that died in the first wars with the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And Elder's like, I'll punch Gothos in the face when I see him. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And so I guess he does manage. He doesn't feel like he's going to be able to finish the brick, and he gives it one last shove, and he's like,
yeah,
send him on his way. Wonder what that's about.
Yeah.
And he built, I guess, a big tower this time. So that was the piece. He's like,
that could fit, him, because he's this giant guy.
Yeah.
Like
because
4 stories tall.
And he's like 4 stories tall. And he was like, well, I can't just build a house. Houses have 4 walls. He's like, then don't do that. Build a tower instead. And the only other tower that we've seen was in that pirate guy's tower. Is the only thing I sort of really thought of about that, or maybe some Akarium stuff. But
did we already
maybe
talk?
The tower in Letherus, he's just going to go be that instead, because that one died outright.
We skipped. I skipped over a lovely detail of this chapter, of these chapters, where, or is it later? Is it not happened yet? The culture that puts the dead bodies in the building walls as they're building the buildings.
Yeah,
I think that happens. I didn't think this happened yet, but I thought that was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and
Anander wakes up in Destra's arms.
Yeah, so
he's like, it's been so long. She's like, what are you talking about? It's been like 4 seconds.
Yeah,
You just passed out.
Desra ran into the building.
Yeah.
And Gothos is like, I guess he's over there. Who knows what happened? Oh, no. And she's like, okay, idiot. And so she reaches through the ice to pull him out, because she can see things moving on the other side, and completely messes up her arms and drags him out in order to do it. And so Anander wakes up and he looks at Desra, and he's like, why? How could you possibly have waited here? And they're like, it's been a minute. And he's also looking at her decimated arms, and he's like, why would you do that? And that's like the connection of like, Amander's the person that she thinks is the good guy. So she's like,
that.
There's no way he's getting trapped behind that wall, because that's my guy.
That's my man.
Yeah.
Love that. It makes sense to me. I also love the fact that Gothos is like, wait, you're telling me my contractor is built a house in the dragon's blood now? And you left him there? And now I don't get to use my contractor anymore?
And they're like,
you guys are idiots.
And they're like, stop trapping guys. And he's like, hey, what? A guy can't trap a guy anymore.
He's like, there's an Azath house in the blood of dragons. Dragons don't play games. Dragons don't play games.
I like that he's just like,
what's that about?
I think all of us can tell that sounds bad. We don't know what it means, but it sounds pretty bad for everybody.
Pretty bad. Yeah. And then they all kind of return back to camp, and Kedivus is like, everybody, just cook some food, make a fire. I got to go talk to Gothos.
Yeah.
All right. So then we pop back over to the captain and Carsa having their meal that the captain invited Carsa to. Captain's like, tell him he's my heir, and we'll have dinner, and it'll be just lovely. And he'll come round to my point of view, and he'll be my heir, and it'll be so sweet.
Well, he also, I think, has convinced himself. So like his conversation with the spirits is that centuries from now, he would have an heir and he would have to give it all up. And he's like, oh, wait, this guy must be my heir, and I just have to give it up now. And so he's like, the slaves like it when you get rubber duckies at bath time. He's like, the slaves? No, you got slaves, dude. That's bad. There's no more slaves. This is done.
That's right. There's no amount of rubber duckies that makes them like being slaves.
Yeah.
Buddy.
It's bad. They're still shackled, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing when he's like, I love how Carsa's like, everybody wants to give me gifts. I always reject them. Nobody ever gets the point. I don't want your stuff. I don't want nothing. All I want is you to not have slaves.
Yeah.
I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy everything you've built. I'm going to bring it all down. This is the end of everything. And he's like, you could have lied.
Yeah, I know. It's like this crocodile tears last word of this guy. I think I pulled one that is one of my favorite sections is that bit.
So funny.
It's so ridiculous to be like to
You
have
didn't
that guy
tell me.
I could have just died thinking that you were my heir. Whatever.
Whatever, man. It would have been nice. Make it not nice for me. And then Carsa's like, this is the problem, is anywhere that there's a leader is civilization. Civilizations require leaders, and leaders are awful. And now what do? I'm going to go back and be a leader to my people? Well, I'm not going to be that kind of leader. They're not going to be my followers. They're going to be my companions.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to take it upon ourselves to destroy civilization wherever we find it. Pretty baller. What a crazy position. And I love how Erikson has teased this out. And we've seen Carsa really come to this of like, the problem is the organizational systems that we work under.
Yes.
It's like nothing is ever going to be good because people are corrupt and awful.
Yeah. And I am just so eager for whatever, as Krupp would put it, whatever joyful reunion there is with Carsa and his people because of who he was when he left, which is like frat boy. They shotgun a beer on their way out to go do crime.
Yeah.
And returning is like, I've learned many things and we must be allies.
I'm changing it. I'm changing all of our culture basically single-handedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The destroyer of cities.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him, live well until I get back because you're all going to die, but have a great time until I get back.
Yeah. He finishes his dinner. He sets everything on fire afterwards. And then he just stands outside the burning carriage and is like, if you divvy it up equally or I will kill you straight up, but I will also kill you later. Do a good job.
But like, have a good life until then.
Have so much fun.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, just live life.
Just like have a great time because you're going to be killed. I'm going to murder you later.
Carpe diem. And then I will carpe your diem.
And then the final scene, we cut over to Traveler and Samar Dev. And they're like, you see there seems to be a fire over there. And Samar's like, that's Carsa.
Yeah.
That's Carsa burning some people.
Yeah. They cut over and Traveler's like, Samar and Carsa sitting in a tree. What's that smoke?
And I love how Traveler's like, I am scared of that man.
And Samar's like,
yep, you should be.
She's like, I am too, but in like a sexy way.
But I like it. Good chapters.
Great chapters.
Such good. I'm in love with this book. This book so far threatens to be my favorite thus far. I'm just like having such a blast with this novel.
Agreed.
And the prose somehow has gotten even better, which I think we will. It's been hard for me to narrow down some of my picks on what to read because there's so many incredible sections of just beautiful, eloquent prose. I love it so much.
I have so many. They're not all long ones, but I have a bunch from this week. I'm realizing
I have 3.
Okay,
so you can start.
You should start because I don't want to. I feel like sometimes we overlap, and I like when you say things better than when I say things. I know it's a treat for me to hear you do it.
I like when you do it. All right, this is Duiker. Sitting in the shadows in the far corner, back resting against the wall, Duiker watched with wry amusement. Extraordinary how some people survived and others didn't. The soldier's face was always the same once the mask fell away. A look of bemusement, the faint, bewildered surprise to find oneself still alive, knowing all too well there was no good reason for it. Nothing at all but the nudge of luck, the emptiness of chance and circumstance, and all the unfairness of the world made a bitter pool of the eyes.
Beautiful.
That last line.
Beautiful.
All the unfairness of the world made a bitter pool of the eyes. Beautiful.
I have a single sentencer that I really liked from Selin. Knowledge, Selin told herself, eases nothing. It just fills spaces that might otherwise flood with despair.
That's so good. Fill spaces that might otherwise flood with despair.
Yeah.
Wow. Powerful.
And then
I mean, how do you write that stuff? It's just so good.
I know. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Another one?
Well, I was going to just swing that into the other one that I really liked was from Desra.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about, this is her talking about the strong and the weak. She had seen so many of the weak ones. They died unjustly in their thousands, tens of thousands. They died because they worshipped ignorance and believed this blind god could make them safe. Among the strong, only a few were worth paying attention to. Most were bullies. Their threats were physical or they were emotional, but the effect was the same, to make the victim feel weak. And it was the self-appointed task of these bullies to convince as many people as possible that they were inherently weak, their lives ones of pathetic misery. Once this was done, the bully would then say, "Do as I say and I will keep you safe. I will be your strength. Unless you anger me. If you anger me, I will terrorize you. I might even kill you." There were plenty of these bastards. Pig-eyed and blustery little boys in big bodies, or fish-eyed nasty bitches. Although these ones, after proving to their victims how weak they were, would then lap up all the spilled blood. Delicate tongues flicking in and out. You had the physical bullies and the emotional bullies, and they both reveled in destroying lives.
Sounds a little bit like a elected person that I can think of.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. This is just a lovely piece of prose. This is Krupp. Krupp's perspective, just kind of setting the scene. Blaze down, blessed sun, on this city of wonders, where all is of consequence. Cast your fiery eye on the crowds, the multitudes moving to and fro on their ways of life. Flow warmth into the rising miasma of dreams, hopes, fears, and loves that ever seethe skyward, rising in the breaths expelled, the sighs released, reflected from restive glances and sidelong regard, echoing eternal from voices in clamor. I mean, come on. You mentioned last week that it was struck you as Shakespearean and setting the scene, and I'm reminded of specifically that one. I'm reminded of that the chorus from Henry V. Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. You know, that like setting of the scene is,
yes,
it's channeling that. It's so, you're so right on.
Yeah.
Really good.
So good. So I have two more that I'll do. One is short, but I just loved it. It's Desra again, staring through the ice wall. Feeling helpless, useless, she stepped closer to the wall of ice, squinted into its dark depths. Careful, woman. That blood pulls hard on you, Tist. And yes, she could feel that, but it was nothing to trust, nothing to even pay attention to. It was the lie she had always known. The lie of something better just ahead. Of all the questions answered, just ahead. Another step, one more. Time's dialogue with the living, and time was a deceitful creature, a liar. Time promised everything and delivered nothing.
So good. All right, this is my last one, and this one hit me particularly personally. I think this is Endist. I believe it's Endist.
Mhm.
What am I thinking of these days? Not but the nonsense of my wasted youth. Certainty scours a world without wonder. Ah, then perhaps those terse poets had stumbled onto something after all. Is this what obsesses me now? A suspicion that all the truths that matter lie somewhere in a soul's youth, in those heady days when words and thoughts could still shine, as if born from nothing solely for our personal edification. Generation upon generation, this does not change, or so it comforts us to believe. Yet I wonder now, does that stretch of delight grow shorter? Is it tightening, cursed into a new kind of brevity, the one with ignorance preceding and cynicism succeeding, each crowding the precious moment? What then of the next generation? Starved of wonder, indifferent to the reality or the unreality of the water flowing past, caring only whether they might drift or drown. And then, alas, losing the sense of difference between the two.
Ah, well read. Well read. Oof.
Well, I mean, well written. It's just powerful stuff. It's like it feels very cyclical. Like every generation goes, "Is this it? My father used to say, and certainly didn't coin the phrase. But my father used to always say, youth is wasted on the young, and that I believe that's Endist's perspective in that sequence as well. It's like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Mm. So my last one is that scene with the captain and Carsa chatting. His final moments. It took a bit of a longer chunk of it, though. Starting with Carsa. Slavery is an abomination. Slavery is what people who hate do to others. They hate themselves. They hate in order to make themselves different, better. You told yourself you had the right to own other people. You told yourself they were less than you, and you thought shackles could prove it. I loved my slaves. I took care of them. There is plenty of room for guilt in the heart of hate, the warrior replied. This is my gift. Everyone seeks to give me gifts. I reject them all. You believe yours is wondrous, generous. You are nothing. Your empire is pathetic. I knew village dogs who were greater tyrants than you. Why do you torment me with such words? I am dying. You have killed me, and yet I do not despise you for that. No, I make you my heir. I give you my kingdom. My army will take your commands. Everything is yours now. I don't want it. If you do not take it, one of my officers will. This kingdom cannot exist without the slaves. Your army will become nothing more than one band of raiders, and so someone will hunt them down and destroy them. And all you sought to build will be forgotten. You torment me. I tell you the truth. Let your officers come to kill me. I will destroy them all. And I will scatter your army, blood to the grass. The captain stared at this monster and knew he could do nothing. He was sinking back against his heap of pillows, every breath shallower than the last. Swathed in robes and furs, he was none the less cold. You could have lied, he whispered.
Which is his last words.
Ugh.
It's so good.
I love it of the captain's perspective of looking at Carsa being like this monster.
Yeah.
And Carsa actually being the person. I'm not here for gifts. I'm not here for this garbage.
That's right.
I'm not here for
Yeah.
the absolutely despicable society that you have built. I will
Right.
dismantle it. And that which you thought you claimed to own.
Yeah. I give it all to you. Gross.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Ick. I don't want that. This is not a gift.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that he said to the crippled god, right? He's like, take the sword. He's like, screw you, take the sword.
Yeah.
So good.
Everybody, you think this is wondrous? Tuh.
Yeah.
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 Just love him. Just
Just
love
love
him. What
And
an arc.
I just hope that he doesn't turn. You know, I get scared when it's like, I'm going to destroy civilizations. I was like, well, there's some good things about civilizations.
Yeah, that's the balance Samar is bringing, right? She's
Yeah,
like,
one
okay,
hopes.
they're at least
Yeah.
equal. So, well,
I mean,
we got to find the good pieces and elevate those.
Yeah. I mean, what a character. What a
Yeah.
character, Carsa Orlong. I mean, incredible. Such good chapters. Thank you, folks, for being with us.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Just because we didn't have an opening topic this week doesn't mean we don't want you to keep sending them in. dlcfeedback@gmail.com if you want to give us a topic to start the show, a non-spoiler topic. We love getting them from you. Also, check out our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord. We'll see you next week. 2 more chapters. Keep dancing in the meantime.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your